saying how great it is from the, what's that place, Cork and Bean? Down the street.
Free plug.
So we're arguing, of course, because I said, yeah, it tastes good, because how many pumps of syrup did you tell him to put in? He's like, half. I said, okay. I said, do you know that at Starbucks, he knew there was 5 pumps of sugar. But when I get his matcha, I get a half a pump of sugar, or syrup, whatever the heck you want to call it. But he got half of 5, 2.5. So he's on a big
You don't
sugar
know
high,
that.
Anthony said.
When I said
Because
half,
he's like,
maybe
damn,
he
this
gave
is
half a
good.
pump.
Dang, this is good.
So, and not only that, what is
So
half a
it's
pump?
good because it
If you
wasn't
pump
healthy.
It, like you stop halfway, how do you know you stopped halfway?
They
You went
know,
three-quarter
they're
way or all the
baristas.
way, or
They know.
not at start. Well,
It's their
I guess
job to
Starbucks
Is
know.
that part of the barista
Isn't
school?
really like a barista. Baristas usually have interaction with you and make your day different, better, possibly. Starbucks doesn't necessarily do that. They say, "Can I take your order, please?"
And my
It's more
allergies
like-
are really bad today, so I'm
You
gonna be.
ignoring what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That was-
I thought you would notice how I was looking straight ahead, but I had to
Oh,
talk
I
for
did.
you to
I
get it.
noticed. I
I
noticed.
had to talk and then
Just
you got it.
reintroduce the show. I missed the first 10 seconds of the show, the audio.
Okay. No, we're good. Oh, yeah, we never even introduced the show.
Oh,
You want to
shoot,
do that
and it's
one?
your home, your money.
Oh, too late.
And today we're live on YouTube, but we're not on the radio, so sorry about that. But this will there. Take 2, please. Again. Air on YouTube.
Just so you know, Jackie, we are live, so
I know.
Yeah.
get it together.
Yeah, calm yourself.
Anyways,
I think they make concessions anyways
it's still
for
really
little
nice
people.
out there. Hey, people are like. Yesterday, I was driving in to one of our listings in North York, and there's people still in their convertible with the roof down. And it's almost October.
So people are still riding their bikes too.
Yeah.
Guy I work with rides his bike into work.
Yeah, but I thought on the 401 with the roof down, but it was nice. It was a really nice evening, actually.
And the Jays still have their the dome open, so
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I
there's
wonder
the-
when it's going to get cold.
How did it go yesterday? Win or lose?
they won yesterday. So that the magic number for them is 1. One more win and they're in. Either they win or Seattle loses, and they're
they
done.
get in?
Yep, they got 2 more shots at it.
Ah,
So we'll see.
Sounds like they'll be in.
cool.
Don't jinx it. Although the team they're playing is already in, so maybe they won't go as hard or won't care. Anyway,
Doubt that.
Yeah, I don't know how that would happen between.
they beat them 11-4 yesterday, and yeah, we're not getting into it fully, but they're gonna. So basically, they're playing Tampa Bay right now, and they'll most likely play, if they get in, they'll most likely play them again next week. So they may not want to show all their cards for that potential.
Yeah,
Oh, they
like-
don't. They
they-
preserve
so-
the big guns.
So
Yeah.
you're saying you're going to throw the game?
No, not for the game.
I know,
They're
I
going to
know.
rest their talent.
Oh, I
Although
see.
yesterday they didn't, but they just got beat yesterday. But
Bus up.
we'll
Bus
see.
up shot.
Anyhow,
So,
we're
what's
gonna go
going
ahead.
on out there in real estate world?
All right, well, I guess I'll go on since you just kind of threw a question out there and kind
Yeah.
of just let it slide. But
Exactly.
so one of the things I want to talk about, and we've talked about it a little bit before, was because of, I guess, the affordability issues in terms of getting into a home with all the rate hikes, and now if you're getting, I'm not sure what the rates are right now exactly, but I know they're above 5%, so it's not cheap to maintain a home once you do buy it. We're seeing a lot of co-ownership with families trying to get into homes, whether it's with basically you're owning a home with someone other than your spouse, right? So it could be a family, it could be a friend, and there's different reasons for that. One being obviously the more hands, more money, easier to actually get in, more people to save up for that down payment, because especially if you're getting a home over $1 million, you would need at least 20%, which is around $200,000, which for a lot of people isn't that easy to come across, right? $200,000 to save will take you quite a bit of time. Right? Even if you're saving $1,000 a month, that's still 200 months, which is quite a few years, right? So if you have 4 people trying to do that, it can make it a bit easier. So we are seeing a lot of people going that route where they're to having co-ownership, and sometimes not necessarily always living together. Sometimes it's just one person might live there and the other person owns. And I guess for the long term, maybe the long term plan maybe could be, hopefully in a few years they can get another place and then maybe separate at that point. But yeah, so go over some of the numbers. A survey was done by a company where they found that 6% of Canadian homeowners co-own property with someone other than a spouse or partner, with 76% citing affordability as a primary reason. For co-owners aged 25 to 34, the affordability rises to 83%, right? So the younger you are, obviously, you had less time to save, especially if you were thinking about saving maybe 8 to 8 years ago where it wasn't as hard, and then all of a sudden things kind of flipped where, the prices kind of soared, right? And the prices soared, your down payment soared, and then even if you can get the house, though your monthly payments also would have gone up quite substantially. So just something that we're seeing, and so if you are, I guess, in the market or getting in the market, there's something that you might have to look out for. Make sure you have good friends, and if you are going to do it, you also want to make sure that, well, you're not going to really make sure of it, but if you're going to co-own with somebody, it's obviously there's going to be the difficulties in terms of habitating together with someone that you may not, fully have the same, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but same lifestyle or whatever it may be. So I'm not sure your guys' thoughts on this at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's always hard to live with someone, right? I mean,
Here we go.
no, it's true, right? You love your wife very much, but there's challenges living with her. You love your children, and there's challenges living with them. The only people that have it easy are the women, because the men are usually pretty good, pretty consistent, and
consistent at what? Nothing.
Their personality doesn't change a lot. It's pretty
You just
consistent.
get old and grumpy.
So women
just
are
think,
lucky.
Again, from my perspective is that I think, from what I know about men, and from, I guess, as being a guy myself, I think guys are more likely to, if something's wrong, they're just going to say it. Like, to say, you know what, I don't like this. This bothers me. What I've seen, obviously, all women are different, more or less maybe, but women will see something, it'll bother them, they won't say anything. The next day, it still bothers them, they ain't say anything. A week later, they're gonna say, you did this thing last week, why the hell did you do that? Because you didn't say anything about it. Why would I change if nothing was a problem? But now it's a problem, so. Yeah, so.
I do.
Happy anniversary, Anthony.
I do
On
see
that
it.
note.
I do see it slightly different. I do agree that they may not say anything at that point. They may just sort of leave the situation alone, put it in their back pocket, and be mad for a week until they bring it up. And even when they bring it up, they're not necessarily satisfied with the conclusions. And so therefore it festers onto a next problem.
Yes.
And so the problems continue to grow, and therefore men are usually in some kind of trouble for some kind of reason.
Interesting analogy.
Now that's just one person's point of view, of course. But I think women are very lucky to have men that are like us, and that's how I feel.
Kind of quiet there, Jackie.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. It was just way too much garbage there to unravel. Yeah. Anyways.
So
Anywho.
so people living together is kind of hard, and then the other hard part of it is the exit strategy, right? And I think that should be one of the first things that you talk about, is how would you get out? Things change. For example, if Anthony and I were single right now, and we decided that we're going to buy a house together because, they're really expensive, we'd need, who's getting the master bedroom, who's getting what, who's this, that. But how are we going to exit in case we do find the love of our lives that we want to go off into, into the distance with for the rest of our lives. And therefore we no longer kind of want to cohabitate together. The women may move into the place, but that's going to cause a lot of discomfort because she's going to see something wrong and not say anything, and then possibly bring it up a week later or be upset. So the situation isn't going to unfold very well, and whoever found their significant other is going to want to exit at some point to get her own place so that she can rule the roost and he can try to be happy. So how are you going to exit? Because now what, you can force a sale? Well, that's not as easy as you think, because while you may be able to put a home on the market, you need both signatures to sell it. You need both signatures to close it, and you need both signatures at the lawyer. It doesn't matter what stage you get to, there could be interruptions. So what is the way that you would get out? Let's say one person wants to sell and the other doesn't, because they're quite happy not selling, and they want to keep the house, but they can't afford to buy you out. But you need the money out of it in order to take your newfound love into, their own space. And you just can't get that money out. So I would say, the caution I would have around this, I think it's a great idea, but I really do think that the exit strategy becomes really, really, really important, because while right now you vow never to fall in love again, that could possibly happen.
We're still talking about the housing market.
That's right. You vow never to fall in love again, so you cohabitate with a friend, and then you fall in love again. And your love is going to drive you out of that house because they don't want to share with another person. That's not how they want their life to go down. And yeah, there's our problem. That's the issue I see with that one moving forward. However, I do think it's a good idea, especially homes that are split into multiple units. That is good. But again, it's still the same sort of problem, because when you do fall in love, there are expectations of space, and there are desires of having your own stuff as a couple. That doesn't necessarily happen in the setup that you currently have. So I guess we'll see how that unfolds in the future.
Okay, so you didn't really have an answer for how to get out. You were just saying you
Oh,
need...
that's going to be up to the individual,
that's
sweetheart.
because you went on, and I thought there was some kind of...
Well, how could there
help
be?
there,
First of
but-
all, you got to think about what I just said. You got two guys.
No, I didn't
one
mean for you
wants
to go
out,
over it
and
all
you got
again.
the woman there, and that will complicate things for sure. that right there. That now there's like a million variables. Like there's not. Like, if it was just the two guys, there's maybe 3 or 4 variables, but you add the significant other in there, and now there's like a million variables, that potential problems.
Okay, so talking about sharing.
So how do you get,
go on to the
let's
next-
find solutions to
No,
these
there
million
is no solution.
Well, there's
What
one.
The moral of the story
You
is
could.
that you need to know your end strategy, or at least kind of have one, even though life changes, before you go into a situation like that, and maybe that goes into the agreement. Like, that's what I say.
Yeah, it wouldn't be
Because
enforceable.
like, you don't just jump, no, but if you,
It wouldn't be enforceable because you cannot force someone to sell, Jack. It's illegal to hang them by their toenails so that they sign to sell. And so this is where, that's why I'm saying the exit strategy is very complicated.
Again, I'm not sure. I don't know much about buying homes like with a corporation. I don't know if that's like a way of doing it where that kind of makes it a bit simpler.
It helps if you do that, but it comes with some pitfalls as well. You've got capital gains, so now it is not
Okay.
fall under, your tax provision as your principal residence, so you don't have to pay tax on the gains. You now have it as a corporation, but it does help, and I think that could be sort of one strategy. But and so you could just try to sell your portion of the business through selling the business, and then you wouldn't have to change title.
So I think, long story short, basically what Randy's saying is like, it could be a really good idea to get your into a home, get something that's yours, something you own, but you just don't want to jump into it without thinking it through, right? It's as nice as it is to have a place, you want to make sure you kind of look at all the things that could potentially happen right down the road. Where, again, you never know. Like, we could be best friends today, and then all of a sudden you say this one thing, and then now we're like vicious enemies, right? So. Just for one, make sure you choose the person wisely, whether it's family or friends, because whether it's family or friends, you can still sometimes you hear people talk about how things happen, right? So again, it's we always say you want to get in where you can get in because you want to own versus rent and paying someone else's mortgage, but at the same time you want to make sure you cover yourself for as best as you can, right? You can't cover everything because you never know, life happens, but you want to just kind of look ahead without jumping in without thinking it through.
Yeah, I do think that it is kind of the way of the future, in order to be able to afford property for as young people today. Our government is certainly making it very difficult to acquire properties. We all know that they want to make homes more affordable. And that's why they're increasing the taxes and increasing the levies on building and stuff like that, because they just want to make it more affordable. And if that doesn't make sense to you, and it doesn't make sense to me, but it does make sense to our government, so.
It's not even more affordable. Even what they're building now is just like they're building the shacks. Like, even I'm in Ajax, in Durham region, and like so there's this region where I always used to drive through. It used to be all commercial, and it seems like a lot of those buildings are gone now, and they're just building a crazy amount of stacked townhouses, right? Where like there's like no space, like and like in this little patch of land, it looks like there's like 50 houses or 50 properties, and I don't know where you're gonna park, and it's just you can. They're building beds, but are they building what you kind of envisioned, right? You probably thought you had like the white picket fence and like somewhere like a actual lawn. Now you're getting these places with like
no yard.
Yeah, your backyard. I was talking to one person where for him to mow his lawn, he had to carry the lawnmower through his house to get back to the backyard to cut the little patch of grass, where it's like,
damn man, just concrete that in.
So it's
interlock it.
You might get a bed, but it might not be what you kind of envisioned. You might not have that space for your kids to actually go outside and play. Like there's nowhere. Like basically, you go outside, you can do 2 steps, and you're hitting all the fences, right? So yeah, it's just different times. More like it's getting to be like in New York where you have the concrete jungle, where it's just buildings.
Yeah. So I mean, life is changing, which leads us to sort of like another. What?
Another what?
You want to go ahead?
No, another what?
Okay, which leads us to another point is that traditional jobs may not be the way to go. I know it's kind of tough because many parents are grooming their children to do things traditionally, but if you're an ambulance driver, or you're doing something that took a fair amount of school and took a fair amount of resources to get there, and you get there, or you become the mayor, because you remember the article of the mayor can't afford to buy a house in his town. These things aren't necessarily going to be the way of the future. Those jobs which had high integrity and were great for the future, now it's kind of tough because those jobs come with limited incomes, and limited incomes almost put you close to the poverty line. And it's kind of scary, the world that is being created right now. And I personally, honestly believe it's being created on purpose. I don't think that they on purpose want to bankrupt everyone, but they do. It was on purpose that Bank of Canada did quantitative easing. It was on purpose that that all that money went to the banks. It was on purpose that they gave the federal bank unlimited spending power by performing this task. And then afterwards, we have this crazy inflation, which they're trying to pretend wasn't on purpose, but it's a reaction to the tasks that they performed. And so therefore, that's why I say I believe it's on purpose. And so now we have to live with it. So now we can sit here and complain with it for the next 5 years, or we can try to navigate ways around it. So if your child comes up with some interesting ways of considering a new living, I would encourage them to, if it's their passion, to pursue it. Because today it's these little niche things those are the people who are doing well. The people who have found a small little section of the market where they can go and promote to, and those people are being left out into the cold. There's nobody servicing them, and boom, they've got a great career. So, I think we got to listen to our children, listen to their spirit, and not be caught up in the days of yesteryears where you need to become some kind of blue collar or white collar employee.
Yeah, I agree to a point, like with the niche things, but especially like social media. Trust me, there's many people who attempt this, but only few can actually have the proper drive, and it's because it's still work. It's still a lot of work. And I think a lot of people think that, oh, I'm just gonna go online, I'm gonna make 2 videos, or I'm gonna read this one book or this one course, and I'm gonna be rich for it. It's not. It doesn't really work that way. So I agree that yes, it can be good for some people, but I think for the majority of people, I don't think they really have that work ethic to actually get it done properly. And unfortunately for them, you're probably gonna have to get I would say you need at least the blue collar, whether it's a plumber or those things, because at least with those jobs, once you're out of high school, maybe a year or two out of high school, you're making money. Versus with sometimes with the white collar jobs or white collar degrees, again,
no money.
Yeah, there's like no money. Again, no offense with some degrees, but like some arts degrees, they're great. You have a degree, but what can I really do with that financially afterwards? So. Yes, I think you want to do what you love or what you like, but at the same time, it has to be able to pay you. So
Yeah, you have to be practical.
yeah, so
Yeah. Which is unfortunate, because that's how a lot of people are picking their careers now. Can I make a living? It's not based on, do I love doing this?
That's, and that's where I think, I mean, it's just me, and I do agree with you, Anthony, it does depend on the person. But I really do, and I'm doubling down right now as we speak in my life. I am totally doubling down, and it could be, it could be amazing, or it could be an absolute flop. But the thing is that when you have a passion, that is a gift from God if you believe in God. That's a gift from the universe if you don't believe in God. To be able to have a passion for something that you love. Now the difference is, and this is a major difference, is that when you pursue your passion, there are going to be things that you won't enjoy doing. But any job that you get, there are going to be things that you aren't going to enjoy doing. So when you have the passion, you are able to work 12, 13, 14, 15 hours a day doing your job. So what happens is now you are actually almost doubling the energy and time that the average person does. And therefore you start to build, more, you're building faster. You're building bolder, you're building deeper, digging deeper, you're finding out more, you're pushing the envelope. And remember this, you're already starting at least at halfway into the pack or even higher. And what I mean by that, when you start a job, you pretty much suck at that job. It's new, you don't know what you're doing, you're starting at the bottom. But as you learn, you get to the middle, the top of the pack. Well, when you have a passion, that's a skill set of something that you already love, that you're already good at. So you're already starting halfway. When you start, you're starting halfway or higher. And so for you to become one of the best in the world, this is, to become one of the best in the world, this may seem a little bit out there, but it's not. Because you have that passion, because you have that drive, that gives you a huge edge. And that alone can be magical. And if you do become, and you take it really serious and you're digging in deep on your passion, you will then become one of the best in the world at it, and you will attract likewise, as long as you're following the proper principles of building that. So I still am very much a believer in this, but I do agree with Anthony, it's not for everyone. Not everyone will have the drive or that passion to be able to follow it through. And I don't believe it's a 1% thing. I don't believe that, but I do hear what he's saying. I believe it's an actual passion thing, and that passion is what puts them in the 1%. Not they're in the 1% because it's so hard to get there, so nobody else, 99% don't. No, 99% don't have the passion, don't have the discipline, don't have the consistency to do it, to get there. But you could. But if you don't absolutely love what you do, you can't do a 12-hour or a 15-hour without burning out and then not being able to think for 2 weeks. But when you have that passion, that 15-hour goes by and you're going, what the heck? Oh, I better get to sleep so I can come back and do this again. And so that's my take.
Before you go on, just to add on again to what you're saying before you let go, I agree. It's just like if I have a passion for music, great. But again, the part what I'm getting at here is more like the marketing part of it, because like your passion is music, or your passion is whatever it is. That's great. You can put the time in, but you still gotta. The only issue with this is like the marketing part of it, because like again, you gotta make money from it somehow. So again, those things you can outsource, and there's a way to do it. But again, it's again, you have to have drive, you have to have a bit of business sense, or find people who have it, so who can kind of direct you with that as well. But
yeah, and I could fight back on that, but I won't, because we'll leave it there so we can move to the next topic. Because I was just going to talk about Justin Bieber.
Justin, what?
Bieber.
Bieber?
Bieber?
Bieber? Or
Yeah.
Beaver?
yeah, you can get breaks as well, because
I don't know if it was a break. This guy was pushing. He was pushing against the universe so freaking hard. He's a very talented young man. He would take his guitar and his voice, and he would go and to radio stations and knock on the door and say, hey, can I do a song live for you?
He was discovered through YouTube.
No, I'm just telling you his origins, Jack. That's his origins. He was pushing hard on the universe. He wasn't sitting in his basement doing just YouTube videos, although he did do that. But he wasn't just doing that. He was pushing all of the buttons everywhere because he had a passion, and he knew he wanted people to hear him. So he did crazy things. You know what? Even Colonel Sanders. Do you know Colonel Sanders tried to sell a damn recipe that goes on top of chicken? Who doesn't have one of those?
But okay.
Right? But he knocked on 1,000 doors, and 999 of them refused him.
But again, my only point is that this is the 1% though. That's what I'm saying. It's not 1% of people will actually do that. I believe I believe anybody could do it, but unfortunately, most people won't do it.
So that is the secret right there to me, is that you're right. It's the 1%. Does the Does the dog wag the tail, or does the tail wag the dog? So the question then becomes, or was the chicken or the egg first? The question really becomes, do you really have that passion? And so, and that passion could lead to you being consistent and methodical and really wanting to do the things that other people won't do. And so I think that if you do that, you become the 1%. And so,
Okay,
I don't think it's an accident. I think it's purposeful, and it's very, very, very seldom that people just get lucky and make it overnight. That doesn't really work. It takes 7 years or 8 years to get lucky and make it overnight.
It's basically the 10,000 hour principle, right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
all right, Jackie, sorry, you can go ahead.
Okay, my turn.
Good article, Anthony.
Thank you.
Yeah, Anthony. So, I always find these obscure rentals and this one takes the cake, I think. Never mind the room dividers and you're sharing a room with strangers, but this one is called Perfect Room for a Bridge Troll. We know what a bridge troll is. They live under the bridge and that's it. They really don't hardly ever come out, right? So this guy has put a listing up. I believe it was on Facebook, and is Canadian rental listing prefers that you eat and stay in your room. So this is a condo downtown. It's the ICE condos, and it's at 14 York Street, and he's on the 49th floor, and it's a 2-bedroom, and he's renting out the 2nd bedroom, but the ad kind of goes, I could read the ad straight up for you because it's kind of ridiculous. It really, oops, sorry. I was, well.
Struggling here, Jackie.
Yeah, I am. Here it is. Sorry, guys. I was going to say it in my words, but I figured this here is a little better. Roommate, so you'll be living there with a roommate and a friendly dog, and the dog's shown in the pictures. And there's an air mattress in the room if you want, or you can bring your own bed. You have access to the kitchen and the fridge, but not the dining area and not the living room. You're not allowed in there. You have to cook your food, you have to take it in your bedroom, and you have to eat it there. You're not allowed any guests or anything like that whatsoever. And the icing on the cake is that this guy uses your bedroom. He has 2 desks in there, and he uses your bedroom to repair things on the desk. So you have privacy whenever he decides he doesn't need that. But if he needs to be using the desk, then now you're sharing that space with him until he decides to leave your bedroom. And it's $1,000 a month for that. Apparently he's paying $2,000, so you're getting a really good deal because you're paying $1,000 to, yeah. And I mean, this is actually a listing. This is an actual listing that this guy is going to share your room when he has to do work. So I don't know how many people out there want a living arrangement like that, but I mean, it just goes to show you how desperate the rental market is out there. Like, it's bad because there are people that are jumping on, sharing bedroom with 3-4 people with just a divider. I mean, it's ridiculous. And this is going on in Toronto and Vancouver, but this one happens to be downtown Toronto.
So is he subletting from the person who's already renting, or is it sharing with the owner? Or are you not sure?
No, it just says that he's paying $2,000 and you'd be paying $1,000. So it doesn't say if he's the owner or not.
Oh, but if he's paying $2,000, I would assume that he's subletting it to this guy to make his.
I would assume that he's a tenant and now he's renting.
So maybe he's renting for $3,000, but this guy's going to subsidize his rent by $1,000.
Right, exactly.
So how would that? I'm not sure if you know his renting, but like, since he's not the owner, and I know when you have a shared dwelling, you can kick them out easily. Would he be able to do that if he's not the owner? If he's just subletting? Do you know offhand?
Yeah.
First, is
Yeah,
he
you
even
can.
allowed to sublet?
Is he even allowed to sublet? But that's a different story because
Yeah.
I don't know what the landlord can really do. But anyways, if you're sharing accommodations, then at any time, that is a reason that you can have the police remove the
But even
person
if
if
he
you're
does not-
sharing bathrooms and kitchens.
But even if he's not the owner?
It wouldn't matter. He's the resident there. So the whole philosophy there is that if you guys are in the same space together and one might kill the other, it is a good
Oh,
idea
jeez.
to remove one.
So what if-
And so that's sort of the
So
kind of.
what if the guy who's subletting calls? What if the guy, so I'm the owner, I could bring you in, but now this guy is saying this guy's gonna kill me. Can he have this guy removed?
What do you mean, this guy? Who's this guy?
So you have
The original
You have the
guy.
original
You got
guy.
landlord?
You have, landlord is up here. You have the guy who's renting it,
Okay.
and you have the
And
guy
then
who's subletting.
subletting.
So what if the subletting guy calls the police and says this guy's accused me of murder, of trying to kill me?
He's gonna get kicked out.
This
Who
The
is?
sublet guy.
the sublet guy.
Yeah, but if okay, so the sublet guy will get kicked out because he just doesn't have the right to be in that unit. But if, with the exception of if the person is threatening your life, then that person obviously goes to jail, gets tagged, and waiting for a court date. So they will be out of the house. It doesn't matter which one they are, because they're breaking a law. So they're not going to try to figure out who should be there and who shouldn't. They're first going to take care of the person who's breaking the law, right? But yeah, you are right. It is fascinating. I would say that based on the legislations that are in place currently in Ontario, it is good to have shared kitchens and bathrooms if you want the flexibility to get rid of the tenant. When you don't have that, you don't have that flexibility. You have to go through the Landlord and Tenant Act. But if you're sharing kitchens, bathrooms, Landlord and Tenant Act does not apply.
Have you guys heard of a show called World's Worst Roommate on Netflix?
Oh no!
No.
I have to check that out.
You gotta check it out. It's pretty intense, and it talks exactly what you guys have just been talking about.
Wow.
If someone's life is in jeopardy, or if someone's threatening somebody else, it's not clear cut as you guys might be saying. It's really complicated, depending on
Yeah.
who gets to the police first and who puts the restraining order in first. There's all kinds of crap that goes on.
Yeah, that is very true as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're assuming a few things here, but
Yeah.
in general,
I'll send you guys the link if you want to check it out. It's really interesting to watch.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that.
I think it's like
actually.
4 episodes, so you can watch it at different times. I think each one is roughly about 50 to maybe 60 minutes each.
Cool.
So there's 4, maybe 5 episodes.
Yeah, so yeah, it is pretty, yeah, for even just the whole renting thing. I know we talked about this before on the show, but when you are renting, again, whether it's depending on how it is, if you don't have this shared accommodation, getting someone out of your house you can be in for like a long journey.
And
right?
with no funds from them.
Yeah, because once they're in, they have their own place. You have to go to tribunal. That can
Yeah.
take a little bit of time. Tribunal can say, you know what, we agree with you.
A year or
This,
two.
this guy or this lady isn't paying their stuff. They have to leave. And then guess what? They still don't have to leave right away. They can stay in the place. The date comes and goes. Then got to go to
The year comes and goes.
You then got to go to the sheriff. And then great thing is, sheriff's not free. You got to pay for that sheriff. Last time I checked, it was a couple $100s. I'm not sure what it is now. I'm sure inflation is there as well. And sure, you can try to get your money back from this person who hasn't paid you for 3-6 months to a year, but good luck with that one, right? So, it's renting is a great way to help you. Usually, again, these crazy cases aren't like the norm, but when you get caught in it, it can really, it can hurt you, right? Especially if like you're banking on that $1,000-$2,000 to help subsidize your mortgage. You gotta do your homework as best you can, but again, there's no foolproof way of doing it. You have the credit checks, the different things of helping you out, but there's always, again, ways of getting around the credit checks as well for the savvy people. Like I think I talked about before on the show, my dad used to rent a place, and the tenant literally told him, I'm not gonna pay you for the next 6 months, and nothing you can do about it. And it pretty much happened, almost carbon copy to that, so, yeah.
Well, I forget what I was going to say.
well, then hence the
Yeah.
reason that as a
Then they-
landlord, it's really important that you do not try to measure personalities with your tenant, because you will become the loser because it doesn't matter how strong your personality is, they've got the law on their side. And if you're looking to prove that you are the hottest head or only what you say matters, it will cost you dearly. And especially if they really don't like you. So one good thing about Canada is that Canadians are actually pretty nice people. So they don't want to go and do harm to others. But if you get under their skin and challenge them in a major way, they may just put that personality aside and bring a new personality forward that will, challenge you and your finances huge.
Well, I think they are wondering why there's so few rentals out there, but I would not, like, honestly,
Not anymore.
for years and years, we always said, oh,
We always did,
buy
rentals.
multiple properties, rent them out, and, you retire with this, but why would somebody honestly want to do that whenever the cards are stacked against you as a landlord? And then they wonder why the rent is so explosive out there and there's nowhere for people to live. Well, you made it impossible for someone want to do it.
Okay, you're triggering me. So
Oh, shoot.
here's the thing. I don't think I'm anti-government, but the more I talk, the more I'm like thinking I'm anti-government, but I'm not. Our government is the ones that made these rules for the Landlord and Tenant Act. And they made it in such a way that they've protected the tenant to the max, to
Yeah.
the point where the tenant can rip you off and you can't do anything about it. There's no real legal recourse. Not through the Landlord and Tenant Board. You can try to get them kicked out, and maybe you do. Maybe you're successful and you get them kicked out, and maybe you get a judgment. But now you got to leave the Landlord and Tenant Board. You got to go to court to try to enforce it, and that takes time and money. And then after you get that, then you got to go after and get it. So it is such the cost to do it. You won't do it because of the cost to do it.
Yeah.
So the thing is that our government has sort of made this very, 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 very difficult for the landlord. So this is what's happening, and what they're trying to do is protect the tenant. But this is what, in essence, they have done. They have made 50% of the landlord marketplace disappear because they just don't want that hassle. So how does that convert to tenants? Well, now there's less places for tenants to rent, and how does that work out? Well, then tenants are competing and the rents are going up crazy. So that's one. On the second side, the government's also saying, well, these investors are ruining the real estate market, which is certainly not true. The number of investors has gone up, but not for the reasons that the government's thinking. The number of investors in real estate have gone up because parents have to help their kids to buy the home or they can't buy it. So because the parents own another home, they're considered an investor. But really, they're buying a home for their kid or helping their children to buy a home. And these statistics are making it into the government investment view of the world. And now they're after investors. They're making it so that they're going to pay more taxes on those properties when they sell and all this kind of stuff. Just trying to really make it so that you don't want to invest, which means now that you're not investing, not because of the landlord and tenant rules, but because of the government restrictions and tax laws and that kind of thing. And so now we're losing another percentage of the market. Well, what happens with that? Well, there's less homes now, again, less investors to buy investment homes for tenants to move into, and so there's less properties out there, and therefore there's more. The tenants don't have places to go. They're bidding up homes, and it's costing them more. So what the government is trying to do in protecting the tenant is actually costing the tenants huge. And this is the problem with boardroom management. They're managing from a boardroom how everybody else has to work. And if you believe in yin and yang, you know that there's a positive and a darker side, a light side and a darker side to everything. And so they make these policies which they think have a light side, but what's the dark side of it? They're not looking at that at all. And the dark side, we're living it today. So my whole thing is, I do believe that government has a role, but I think that they've outstepped their role and they're out managing themselves and our economy and our rental market.
Okay.
You feeling better now?
So, I got a quick little article again, and this one is about a family in Scarborough, in Toronto, that is oh my goodness, they love golf, and they have the gentleman has his mother-in-law who's in a wheelchair, so they decided to put in synthetic grass in their backyard. But instead of just putting in synthetic, I'm going to get all messed up with that word, grass, they decided they're going to put in a big putting green because they love golf, and the synthetic grass was easier to bring the wheelchair out so the mother-in-law could go out in the backyard, and that it's a lot easier to roll it over. So
Easier to maintain.
yeah, well, the neighbor complained that the grass is, when it rains, the grass basically the water doesn't seep down, it's rolling onto her property. So she complained to the city. So the city came out, did their blah, blah, blah. They paid 20 grand for this grass, and now the city's telling them they're gonna have to remove it. So they came out, the bylaw officer, and he showed them, he watered it down, he showed them how it seeps down through, the water does. There's no drainage going on her property, nothing. But they're telling him that he still has to correct the problem, and guess why? Because even though it's your backyard, you are supposed to have 50% of your backyard is supposed to be soft landscaping. So 50% of it has to be like mulch, shrubs, whatever, that are, I guess you would call natural. So this poor gentleman may have to rip out his $20,000 grass and his putting green because the neighbor, I guess, is I don't want to say it, but
An a-hole?
possibly a troll and just doesn't like the fact that they're enjoying their putting green. I don't know. I mean, and he even showed the city that what she's claiming is not happening, but now the city is on you, they're going to make you do something.
Is she single? Or she got a husband?
Careful.
I don't know why.
Well, I would think she's probably single, but that
I
feel,
would think
feel
she's
very
got a
sorry
husband
for
and he
that
drove
guy.
her nuts over the years, and now she's
No,
just
no,
crazy.
she's driving him nuts.
So what about
you see
home-
those people? They got grass. They done. Like
what if you have like
girl,
a big
what
deck?
Are you, what are you thinking
A
about?
big deck and a pool. It's the same thing. Like, are you gonna go measure? Oh, the pool's taking up 30%. That deck's taking up.
Do you know what I mean?
Well,
it's your
what-
darn backyard, and now you're telling me that you can't even do what you want in your
what
yard?
municipality is that?
It's in Toronto.
Where in Toronto?
Okay.
Okay, just curious
Yeah,
because
let me see if it gives,
because the same thing.
Scarborough, in Scarborough.
So we have to have some consideration. We have a growing family, and so as you grow, you need more car space. You're not allowed in the winter from November on. You're not allowed to park on the
Well,
street.
that's because the plow comes and you're in the way if they're trying to clear the street. I get that.
Right. No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying it is a thing. And so we need more parking space. So we want to expand our driveway. Well, our neighbor doesn't want us to expand our driveway because as we expand our driveway, we're also expanding our walkways down the side of the house and stuff like that. Like just making them so that you don't have to carry a lawnmower there to mow grass at the side of your house. And he doesn't like that because he has a big window on the side of his house and he doesn't want anybody going down the side of our house because if we go down the side of our house, we can see in his window.
And possibly
And
see
possibly
his wife.
see his wife. This is his words. So, so the thing is that this guy is very, very angry. So he calls the city And he's just, several times he's called the city on us. And now the city comes and says, I'm so sorry, you got to deal with this guy. And they leave. They don't do anything, they don't force anything. But the point was is that we, in our expansion plans, had to figure out how we would be able to do it in order to meet the bylaw requirements. So right now there are no bylaw requirements, but there are bylaw requirements coming into effect. And so like when we were in Pickering, there's nothing. You can do whatever you want. It's called landscaping. You can do whatever you want. Interlock, there was no provisions in it. But in Whitby, there was. You have to have this soft landscaping 30%.
Which we have.
Which we measured off and did a section to give us 30% of ours so that we could then expand and be able to fit 4 cars in our driveway. And we did it in such a design that it had to look decent, but we have other issues going on. It doesn't look decent right now. But the point being is that, you know what, we've experienced something similar. The only thing I can say that this gentleman would have had to have done is, before he did it, he would have to go and speak with their bylaw to find out what their restrictions are, and he would have had to have found creative ways in order to.
And it looks nice, like they've done greenery and all that against the fence up around it. I mean, the yard
beautiful.
looks really nice.
Well, I'll give you one more.
And tell me something. If water is draining onto your backyard and you have real grass, do you really care?
It can cause flooding. It could, depending on the slope, angles, and whatever.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, but there are things you can do for that. At Home Depot, they have these beautiful grids that you can put in that you can basically build a draining system and drain it through your weeping tiles out into the municipality water gathering thing. So there are things that you could do around the edge of your property to help to fix that, but it doesn't help with the 50% of soft landscaping that he has to do. That would have had to have been figured out from day one, how he was going to deal with that.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, that's kind of, and then where does the backyard start? Does it start, in the middle? So then you got some side stuff there where you can have the soft landscaping. It is tough. I will say an add-on story, and I believe this was a few years ago. I believe it was up in Aurora. So in Aurora, very water conscious, tree hugging bugs and lizard lovers. And so there was, this whole climate change scary stuff. They were worried about water, and there's not enough water. So you're not allowed to water your lawn. I'm not sure if that's now, but this was a few years ago. So one of the residents decided, well, if we're not allowed to water our lawn, our grass looks dead, everything, let's put fake lawn. Well, they put fake lawn, and the bylaw, someone, I guess, complained because they're the only ones with nice green grass, and they had to rip it out.
Yeah.
So you're not allowed to water your lawn, but you're not allowed to put in a nice lawn either. So it's quite interesting.
Well, it's not the first. There's another 80-year-old man in North York that did it on the front of his property because he's had a stroke, he's in a wheelchair, and he did it so that it was easier because you can maneuver on artificial turf a lot better than grass. You're not sticking into things. And the court is doing the same thing, and right now he's fighting in court with the city to keep his artificial grass because that's how he gets around on the front. But he says they're bullying him.
Why is it to get around on the grass?
I don't know, but that's why he did it. That's
I
his
can get that he doesn't want to
reasoning.
cut the grass, but you don't
That's
have to,
his reasoning.
you don't have to walk on the grass. What do you mean? What do you mean get out? What do you mean?
Get around? Well, maybe he
get
wants
around,
the
possibly.
wheelchair in the middle of his...
Getting around could also be that, like Anthony said, he can't care for the grass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get that. That's not getting around though. Unless you mean you don't have to yeah, sure, whatever. Who knows?
Getting around, so he's a player.
He's getting around. Oh,
only-
yeah,
he's
he's
only-
playing the wheelchair.
It's only 80. Still has time.
Yeah.
Very good, peoples.
So if we're still going for an hour, we only have a few minutes. So you want to go through some numbers here?
Well, yeah, I'd love to. Okay,
You got
I
6
made,
minutes.
I made some notes here. So what I was looking at is I was sort of glancing through the monthly stats for this year to see where we're at. Right now we're up. I rounded off all the numbers. I got rid of anything lower than 1,000. So if it's 900, I put it as 0. If it's 100, I put it as 0. I just rounded off to the thousands. So in January we had a $59,000 increase in the average price. In February, from January to February was a $59,000 increase. From February to March there was a $12,000 increase, and from March to April was a $45,000 increase in the average price, and then May was the last increase of $41,000. That was it. And then we had our June, July, and August market where we saw the average price decline. And it declined from May to June, $13,000, June, July, $64,000, and July to August, $35,000. So that's what we saw in terms of the marketplace. And what happened overall is we're up $45,000 overall. So this year proved that the spring market was solid and that the summer market was weak. And so now we're into the fall market and hoping that this summer slide downward is going to level off, and we're going to see some upward numbers in terms of average price, which we will see. The issue is the prices are moving slightly forward. The problem that we're having right now is the buildup in inventory. That's really where our major problem is as a real estate sector. Sales are down 5.2%. And so that's over last year, August, which was a very, 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 very bad month. And so to be down 5.2 over a very, very, very bad month is certainly not a good thing. So this is one of the issues within the industry, is that transactions are at an all-time low. When transactions are at an all-time low, it causes a number of issues within the marketplace. One of the issues is a supply and demand issue, right? There is not enough demand to fuel the marketplace. And then if you have rising inventory, so new listings were up 16.2%, and the active listings are up 16.5%. And so we have listings and inventory rising as sales are declining, which definitely creates a lack of demand and a abundance of supply, which we all know in that situation, that puts a downward pressure on prices. Now you couple that with the interest rates that are absolutely nuts. And I mean, for you old schoolers that are saying, oh, we used to have 15% interest rate. Yeah, on $100,000. Like, compare. Apples to apples.
And income was relative. It's not
income,
anymore.
Well, and incomes as well. Affordability is at the worst in Canadian history when it comes to real estate anyways. So no, it doesn't compare just because you had a higher interest rate with $100,000 or $200,000 home. It doesn't compare to the average price of a detached home currently right now. Let me pull up that number for you, is 1.416 on average. 1.6 if you're in the 416, the Toronto area code, the average price is $1.6 million. And so you're 12% on $100,000 and $200,000 homes doesn't hold a candle to a 6% on $1.6 million. Okay,
Yeah.
very different animals here, and so
The interest is like the payments. Like
Yeah.
when you look at it.
so very, very different animals. We do have a major problem. You know, the Bank of Canada has totally destroyed our economy, and has totally destroyed the Canadian dream, the dream of being able to own a house. So now, as Canadians, we need to get creative. We need to feel really comfortable in our own skills and in our own self to be able to go out there and drive new income so that we can live in this new world, which is a lot tougher to navigate than ever before. And you want to close this
Well,
up?
just to add on quickly, one objection I had was like when you said the problem with real estate, it's a problem for I guess the sellers in terms of because what you said like there is more properties on the market, but we're still less than 6 months in terms of months of inventory, correct? Like we're still
Yes.
we're low. We're still
Yes.
low in that regard. So
2.2.
Again, we can go into this for a while. There's a lot of different numbers that we can kind of talk about. So hopefully next week we'll go into a bit more detail on that. But as always, we thank you for being here. Check out this again on YouTube. Again, we're gonna I think post it on the radio show for them to replay later. But that doesn't
Yeah, I
matter.
believe so.
Yeah. Yeah. So anywho, check us out. As always, it's been your home, your money, and our lives. This time on YouTube, but usually on realityradio101.com. So thanks and have a great weekend.
Bye for now.
Hi.
And the music's playing.